us more about who you are and your personal touching story.
It's always an interesting question when people ask you who you are. Uh, I'm Nina Ganguli. I am a Reiki Master and a certified professional life coach. I have many other titles. I'm a mother, wife, sister, as many of us all have so many titles. My story really comes from experiencing abuse over many years of my life, for most of my childhood up into my late 20s, and going on a discovery of what really it means to heal from that trauma and from that abuse, and figuring out what it means to be me. Really, that's really my story.
Now, how has this led to your educational and training background?
Well, I took psychology in, that was what my degree is in. I have a degree in psychology. I was always interested in human behavior. I always thought to myself, what would drive somebody to behave in the ways that they do? What causes that? And so I'm like a lifelong learner inside of behavior and how the brain works and how our brains and our bodies and our souls were all connected. So that started off with getting a degree in psychology, and then I moved much later in life into coaching, and that was because of the way I would work with my team members. So I was in the corporate world for a very long time, and I led a lot of teams. And when I would be working with individuals inside of performance, a few of them would say, you really need to be a life coach. And I didn't even know what that was. So I did some research, found something, a course that I loved, went to take the course, and knew the moment I walked into the course and the curriculum was created and we began learning that this is exactly where I needed to be, which was being that space for people to discover who they are and what they want and what drives them to act and behave in certain ways, similar to psychology, but more performance driven. Later on, moving down, I became a Reiki master because became more interested in the flow of energy. Working with people, what you get to learn is that we get stuck in places, and not just stuck in the thinking and the mentality and the thoughts, but these things are connected to energy sources in your body, and all of that energy gets stuck in your body. And when you begin to heal through traumatic events, you want to start looking at not just healing the thought process, but healing all of that energy that's stuck in your body.
Now, based on all this training and education and your story, what do you think makes you unique that sets you apart from the rest?
What I think makes me unique really is the space that I create, the compassion that I have, the grace that I have for not only my clients, but every person involved in the process. When you come from a place of compassion and you come from a place of grace, you really create that place for someone to show up no matter where they are in their life, knowing that they're fully accepted, knowing that there's no judgment over here with me. And, we just move through a beautiful space. We dance together. We dance together. I really do see it as a partnership, as a dance where honestly, I allow the client to lead the space. I'm just here as a vessel.
Based on that, what are the most common conditions you experience from your clients?
The very first one I usually work with women. So women are the majority of my clients, and they're coming out and transitioning out of, pouring everything into their families, their workspaces. They've transitioned out of having young children. Now they're moving into that space where their children are becoming adults, and they've got more space to think about who they are and what they want. And unfortunately, what happens usually at this time in life is many women just don't know, because they've been so focused on career or so focused on family, and there's been no focus on who they are. Like, who am I? That was the beginning of my journey, was who am I and what do I want? And that's where a lot of my clients are starting from. They call it stuck, but really it's this, they're newly discovering who they are. And some clients come from, really traumatic backgrounds. And so we work really on acceptance and forgiveness and having compassion and creating boundaries and self-love.
What can your clients or expect from you?
They can expect honesty. And sometimes it might feel like brutal honesty, but it's a little bit of tough love. And I think that's the most important, is that I am going to be honest. I am going to poke the bear a little because, you've been in the comfort zone for so long. Now it's time to get out of the comfort zone, because that's where the true creation happens. True passion and purpose comes out when you get to have someone move out of a comfort zone into your discomfort zone and learning something and seeing yourself newly.
Could you maybe provide an example of, trying to get someone out of their comfort zone? What does that look like?
It really looks like interrupting thought patterns, interrupting the way people see the world. Like, we all have a way that we see the world, and it's created through our experiences as we grow in life, through our parents, through relationships, friends, just living life in general. And usually, what happens when people are, quote unquote, the word stuck, is that they're stuck in a way the world should look. And that's where their thinking comes from. And it's so subconscious or unconscious, you don't even know that you're thinking in ways that are the actual things that are stopping you. So, what I do is I interrupt those thought patterns by asking questions, by having them question everything. And also, really, when it comes from healing work, it's really moving energy and moving the energy to open up and allow space for something new.
Now, we've been talking about clients. How has that worked for you personally?
Wow, my journey started many, many years ago after my father passed away. And how it's really worked for me, in a nutshell, is that it's allowed me to be free. I was always looking for freedom, freedom to be self expressed. It was whenever somebody asked me, what is it that you're looking for? It was always freedom. When I first started out as a life coach, it really was a lot of self work that I had to do here, over here with me. And it was about being able to be free, to be fully self expressed, to say what I wanted and what I needed. Because coming from a history of abuse, at sexual, physical, emotional, psychological, I actually had no idea who I was. And then, when I started the healing journey, it was really looking at, how to forgive all the hurts of the past. That was really the impetus. It was, how do I forgive the hurts of the past? How do I accept everything and move forward? And inside of questioning everything, going on a discovery, which I still am to this day, I don't stop discovering and being in the inquiry. Like, my life is like a research project. And that's the space that I get to hold for others, is that they get to be in that discovery. They get to have their life also be a research project. And what that's really done for me is, honestly, like I've said before, has given me so much freedom to just be. And it's reduced my anxiety. It's reduced my anger. I was a very angry person when I started on this journey. I realized I was depressed. I realized recently that I had a lot of anxiety. I had no idea. And what really has happened through being a coach, through the Reiki mastery, through many different other platforms that I've used, I feel free.
What three tips or processes maybe that you take your clients through to help them, feel that freedom that you got to feel?
The first thing I always take every single client through is something called the Life Compass. It is a basic tool that life coaches are taught at the beginning. Well, I was taught, and I know a lot of other coaches have been taught. I call it the Life Compass because it really gets to show you where you are now. I always start with, where are you now? So, what this particular tool does is it has you look at the most important parts of your life. And then you begin to gauge, okay, well, where am I sitting? If I were to score how happy I am, how much joy this gives me, or how much satisfaction this part of life gives me, from one being there's very little satisfaction to 10, I'm fully satisfied. You go through that process with the important parts of your life, and you get a real good picture of where you are in life. This is the tool that every single one of my clients, people who have attended my workshops, have always said has been the most pivotal tool to have them really get grounded in how they're looking at themselves and their lives. So that's the first thing I do. The second thing that I began to do is then I start having them question a lot about how they think about themselves and their lives. So there was a client that I worked with that started coming to me because she was really upset in her relationship with her spouse. And the constant conversation was, he's doing this, he's like this. It was about things going on out there for her. And my questioning always came from, well, I understand that this is what he said and this is what he did. And it was just not just him, it was everybody in her life. And what we began to do was began to get centered and self-focused. So I began the inner work by looking at what's going on the inside. So how did you show up? What did you say? What did you do? And this is not about like a blame game, but it's more about I have a client begin to take accountability and responsibility for how their life is showing up, because the common denominator is always you. And it really truly is an inside job. And the third thing that I work with clients is really now coming to a place of acceptance, to accept that this is the way life has been, and not to be stuck in any portion of the past. And I work with them not only in the coaching perspective, but also releasing past energy, all the energy that's latent in your body. And through Reiki, what we do is we work with something called chakras. And for those of you who haven't heard what a chakra is, it's different energy centers located in your body. And when you work with these different energy centers in your body, you begin to open up flow, energetic flow. And as you begin to open up energetic flow, you're more open to surrender. You're more open to acceptance. When you come from those, like when we start from those three basic places, then after that, you can then begin to build the life that you want, create a beautiful picture of what you want now, not where you are before, where you were stuck in the past.
How do clients kind of show themselves when you start to tell them that, it's time to look inwards? Yes, we've looked at the life compass. Now it's time to look at you. How do you show up? How do you act? How do you approach the world?
There's so many different ways they react. Some are, okay, let's go, let's figure this out, let's move. And some are very resistant. There are clients who they want the change so badly, and yet there's that unwillingness to do what it takes because it's scary. At some point, the fear does pop up, and fear at some point was created to keep us safe. And what happens is clients are so afraid to go down that path of looking at the emotions. So really, I work from this, like, you feel, you deal, you heal. That's my process in a nutshell. And the feeling part seems to be the most challenging part for clients. And what I offer them is a safe space to do the feeling. And it is the most triggering part of the journey, right? It's to feel everything. Many of us would prefer not to feel because it really is painful and it's difficult. It's difficult. And my job as a healer and as a coach is to provide the space where you can feel safe to feel and then begin to deal and heal with the situation.
I would like to ask about the feel, deal, heal.
So what does it mean to feel? It means to acknowledge that you feel something, to release the anger, release the shame, release the guilt that you have been hanging on, or my clients hang on to from the past. When we say stuck, it's mostly because people are stuck in the past and wanting it to be like it was something that it wasn't. I am definitely one of those people. For a long time, I was in that space of, I wish this didn't happen to me, and not being able to just allow myself to feel all of that. And I felt so guilty and I felt so ashamed of you know, being abused, being, participating in abuse, all of those things. And I just put it aside and walked around, I would say, inauthentically. And when I work with clients, what I'm finding is when we begin to crack that inauthenticity, the person you choose to become so that you can traverse life surviving. When you allow the feelings to happen, you begin to let go of just surviving and start to walk into a place of thriving. And that's where the deal comes. You begin to unpack the feelings. So you unpack the feelings. You get to look at it now, moving out from being in it inside the box, right? So my clients are kind of sitting in there. So I was talking about that client and looking at it's everybody else's fault. Her life is not working and it's everybody else's fault. To now start dealing with, okay, it's not everybody else's fault. I am the central person in my life, and there's so many patterns. You begin to deal with the impact of those patterns, so we actually begin to look at the cost. What has this way of being costed you? Once we look at really like, wow, the cost, we can then really, really begin to heal. And how we heal truly is coming and learning acceptance of self, acceptance of the situation, acceptance of the past, acceptance of the people, finding grace in that, finding compassion, mostly for yourself. Forgiveness is a huge key in being able to complete that feel, deal, heal cycle.
What brought you to Miracles Directory?
Lynn is incredible. She has a beautiful heart. She really is trying to create a space for people to come and know that there are like greatly wonderful people who are being vetted and going through a rigorous process actually to become part of the Miracles Network. But it's not just Lynn. It's knowing that, I am going to get the opportunity to continue to serve in a way that's going to expand not only me as a coach and as a healer, but expand and make a difference in the world.
What makes you believe that Miracles Directory is making a difference?
Because it offers so much, not just to clients, it's offering so much to practitioners as well. And when you are given that kind of support as a practitioner, it's so much easier to then give that support to clients. There are so many people that are hurting, and it's really time to be able to heal. And the Miracles Directory provides that through so many of its services to be able to provide people different options on different modalities on how they choose to heal themselves and then create the life that they want. I mean, who wouldn't want that?
Now, in what way could you positively impact our Miracles Directory clients?
I think it's like I said before, it's being that space that maybe you've never had before to discover what's actually getting in your way, to really feel all of the things you haven't allowed yourself to feel in a very safe environment. And then to at the end of it come out thriving, like to move out of survival mode and truly be in thriving mode. That is really my commitment to those clients, all my clients, but also the clients that are coming to the Miracles Directory.
I would like to ask you what your commitment message is to everyone.
My commitment message to you is that you get to have a fully self expressed life where you are thriving and creating the most delicious I can life.